This isn't the guy that you successfully helped to win power, is it? This is a different manifestation of Donald Trump.
Well, look, I think his approach to a number of these items that are going on has been very consistent from the day that he started his election campaign in 2015. I think what you're seeing is a manifestation of the anger and frustration, the sentiment in America over the failure of a lot of our elected leaders in Congress for not getting things done for a long period of time, more than a decade. So what Donald Trump's doing is exposing all that, like he always has done. And there's been a resistance and pushback to him at every level for the past 4 years during his administration. Now, let me be clear. What happened yesterday was absolutely disheartening and deplorable. And there should never be any violence in terms of, what happened. And no person, no political party should ever use violence to achieve something. But at the same time, if we're going to be truthful about what happened, we need to look at the underlying motivations for why those people did what they did if we're going to make democracy stronger. And that's what we need to do moving forward.
Of course, as I said earlier in the show, Rick, I'm all for recounts and challenging through the courts election results. And it's happened for previous presidential candidates, including George Bush and others. But the bottom line is that 60 court cases and beyond have thrown out any claim that this election was stolen.
Yeah, look, this is why there is a multi-tiered process. What people recognized yesterday, and I think in the end found it very heartening, was the idea that we followed the constitutional process. The Constitution, the bounds of it were tested like never before, and it stood the test of time, and it stood the test of what happened yesterday. The constitutional process was followed. Joe Biden is going to be inaugurated on January 20th. And so whether we go through legal channels or media channels, whatever it is, there's many forms to show how these elections unfolded. President Trump and, President-elect Biden are both able to communicate that. So, I'm happy to see the process. Look, this is democracy in action. Obviously not the violence yesterday, but everything leading up to it. And what Congress did is part of how our democracy works. And I think it's been fantastic for people to see, how that's worked, how the Constitution, is done through the system of governance that we had. So I'm hoping that we become stronger from it.
Well, indeed, Rick. But ultimately, this is all a consequence of President Trump's comments at the rally before this happened, in which he sent this mob to Capitol Hill and he said, go and fight for America.
Well, let's be clear. If you take the whole rally speech, you also heard him say, go and peacefully protest. So
nudge,
there are
nudge,
a number
wink,
of instances, and the word fight, sure. I mean, you can fight over a lot of things. We fight verbally. He in no way condoned any such violence. And Mark, I think it's important to point out that what we have in America and other countries as well is there are fringe elements on both sides of the political spectrum. And both main political parties do not condone any activity or actions by the far right or the far left. And I think everybody needs to recognize that those parties do things that are not in line with what the mainstream majority of people in the Republican Party and Democratic Party want to do.
Do you think it's odd that after these awful scenes of carnage and an attack on America's great democratic institutions, that the president threw fuel to the fire by telling this mob that we love you and you're very special people?
Yeah, look, the president has always used the words that he feels comfortable with. As I have written about and talked about, in my experience with him, he always has more to say, but doesn't necessarily say it. And I think when you're caught in a world of sound bites, he didn't get everything out. I hope he certainly didn't mean we hold those people in high esteem. My belief is that he was talking about the overall base of support that he has for people that want to fight for election integrity. That is where I believe that comment was directed. And I certainly hope that he didn't, infer that the rioters were special. And I don't believe he did.
Rick, a storming of the House Speaker's office, 4 dead. I'm wondering if you're taking this a little lightly.
Absolutely not. As I said at the beginning, this is absolutely disheartening. There is no room for violence whatsoever in anything that happened yesterday. But look,
Do you
if we're going to
condemn
be
Mr. Trump
honest,
though? Do you condemn Mr. Trump? Because I mean, I would have sympathy for you if you said that you don't recognize this guy who, after an election he summarily lost, is inciting this kind of behavior. I don't think that you can stand that up, can you, Rick?
no, but I disagree. He's not inciting the behavior at all. I mean, what is wrong with saying that, hey, guess what, America, there's fraud in our election. And guess what, there is. And maybe it's not systemic or massive to the scale that some people believe, but fraud has existed in American elections for decades. We've just never addressed it because we've never cared about it because it didn't really matter to the results. In 2020, it did matter. And that's why it's important to look at. So I don't agree with you at all that President Trump incited these people. In fact, I go back to exactly what he said yesterday at the rally. And he said, we're here for peaceful protesting. And he came out and condemned the rioters immediately after it happened.
Now, Rick, are you actually a member of the Republican Party yourself?
I am, yes.
Because not only has Donald Trump ridden roughshod over America's great democratic institutions, but I think he's actually performed a scorched earth policy on your once great party. This is the party of Ronald Reagan. Donald Trump's no Ronald Reagan, is he? And I wonder whether that iconic president would be turning in his grave right now.
Well, first, I think, no party is based on any single individual. People along the way through history contribute to that party, but the party is represented by the values for which it stands. Now, different candidates bring different, context to those parties. I will say that right now, if you look at the support that Donald Trump still has within the party, it is extremely strong. That doesn't mean that it's not going to change over time, depending on what the president decides to do next. But I think what the president has brought to the Republican Party in the last 4 years is an opportunity to expose how government in general, how the institutions have failed. They've lost credibility. And it's been refreshing to have an outsider come in and be able to expose this because the government insiders aren't going to do that. And we've seen a lot of that over the 4 years. Through attacks on him and him attacking the government. But in my opinion, it's been refreshing, and I think it's going to make democracy stronger in the end in the United States.
Rick, final thoughts. Great to have you on the show. Do you think Donald Trump will be back in 4 years' time, and would you work with him?
I do, absolutely. And if he were supporting the same policies, I would absolutely consider working for him. I think he brings a different, unique perspective to what a lot of Republicans have viewed as a system of elites and government insiders and politicians that have not gotten the job done. I would hope that more people that are not in politics actually get involved in politics. I think that'll make our country stronger.